Good morning, ladies. Are you ready to kick off our first event of the day? Okay, that was lackluster at best. Are you ready for our first talk of the day? That's the energy I want. I want you to join me in welcoming to the stage content creator, blogger extraordinaire, and all-around genius, Gabby Beckford.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for the amazing introduction. Good morning. Thank you. Fantastic response. I appreciate that. I myself was at the after party last night. I myself had somewhat red eyes this morning, so I'm glad that we're all here. I'm glad that we all made it. This is a topic that I am super passionate about and love to talk about because it frankly changed my life, and I'm actively talking about this in my brand and business to help change other people's lives. And so we will get into it. And the topic is funded travel opportunities that you may not have ever heard of. And I'll give a small disclaimer. This is what we're going to talk about today. And I have a few stories that hopefully compare to the amazing speakers that we've had so far this weekend. But I'll give a disclaimer that usually when I give this talk, my audience is 18 to 30, people who are doing their first trip or like their first trips. So I am usually giving these talk to them, but just like how people say, okay, when they talk about college, maybe they assume the audience is younger. It doesn't mean that it's limited to just those people. When people talk about, I don't know, whatever else people talk about, especially with women, and think that it limits to a certain demographic or certain people, it's just not true, and I will very actively debunk any misconceptions or limitations you might have in your minds today when I talk about travel scholarships or travel jobs or travel opportunities. They're for everybody and every age, okay? So keep that mind open as we get into it. I'll give a little opening story about who I am, and I'll talk about what are PTO, and you'll hear me say that a lot. It is not paid time off. I am not your boss. Unfortunately, I don't know your company, and I cannot guarantee a certain amount of PTO for you, but the PTO I'm talking about today are paid travel opportunities. But it's just easier to remember and say PTO. We'll talk about who they're for. The answer is you. Some examples, really to make it real, and talk about turning PTO into a lifestyle and how you can get started seeking paid travel opportunities in your lives today. So let's get started about who am I? This is me. This is me. I grew up in a military family, so I was born in San Diego. I moved to Kansas City. I moved to Virginia. I moved to Japan. And while I was in Japan, I really was exposed to different cultures, really different cultures, and what it's like to live abroad and be, I guess, the minority in a place where other people speak different languages, have different ways of life, have different ways of thought, and I loved it. Big fan. It doesn't snow in Okinawa, and I like that. You can see I'm wearing my big puffy jacket, like I'm always cold. So she's happy, she's doing great. My dad was in the military, like I said, and so when we had to come back to the US, my dad, brilliant man, 3 master's degrees, he was like, we should come back to Stafford, Virginia. Anyone heard of Stafford, Virginia before? No, that makes sense. That checks out. And neither had I, of course, but this is what, oh no. We came back to Stafford, Virginia, but actually what I was gonna say is that this little girl, as amazing and happy that she is, she had an addiction. And that addiction was to applying for things. She was on her parents' laptops. She was clicking every spam email. She was like, I could win $1,000 if I put my parents' names and email address. Yep, and I was getting them all the viruses. I was applying to art contests, poetry contests. I have always had just a knack for putting myself out there and I don't know, just getting something. I actually won a lot of art contests, and I actually won a lot of poetry contests, and this leads into paid travel opportunities and my experience with them, because from a young age, this very excited, devious little child has never been afraid to say, yeah, why not? I'll put my name in that hat, why not? And so, going back, my dad decided to come back to the US, to Stafford, Virginia, and this was what I drove past every day to school. in high school in Stafford, Virginia. And so, as you might assume, I did not feel that I quite belonged in Stafford, Virginia, especially compared to my life previously, like traveling and different people, different ideas, like being different was the standard. And so living in Stafford, Virginia, going to high school, I didn't feel like, I'm like, this isn't just not all there is to life. So I knew that I wanted to go to college somewhere far away, of course, right? So I applied to UCSD and got accepted. Yay. I applied to UVA, which is a great college in Virginia, but a little bit further away. And then I applied to VCU, which is an hour away from my parents' house. The way American education system is set up, I got scholarships to go to VCU, which is just an hour away, and UCSD out of state was $50,000 a year. So where did I go to college? An hour away from Stafford, Virginia. And so I knew, okay, I'm more scared of debt than I am scared of going to college near Stafford, Virginia. So, okay. So I'm like, okay, I am gonna go to college nearby, but I need something to like get me amped up. I need to get excited about going to college. I need to get excited about life and like what my future can hold. Not that I had a horrific experience in high school, but it was just not as inspiring, or like I just knew the world was bigger out there and I needed something to show me, like wake me up, slap me in the face. Like I want to be excited going into college and I want my college experience to change my life. And so at 17-year-old, two very distinct events happened to me. I was 17 and I was just about to graduate high school and I won my first scholarship. And it was $1,000 local scholarship. What's funny about that is that I was told, so I arrive at the award ceremony, shaking hands, thank you so much, thank you so much. And this guy here, this general, is like, congratulations, fantastic application. I mean, it's a shame more people didn't apply, but like, congratulations. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, we had 14 scholarships actually, and only 12 of you applied, so. And you might think that I was like, oh, okay, so I only got this by default. I wish I could visually paint for you how the moon and stars stopped above me and how the lights were like blazing past me like an 80s movie, and I'm standing there like, my world is shifting, and I said, I only won because I showed up. I only won because I showed up. I can show up. I can show up. What do I like to do even as a kid? I will just show up. I might get a computer virus, but I'll show up. And so I won that first scholarship by default, and I said, how many more things in the world are there? How many more different opportunities are there? How many more different opportunities are there in travel that I could participate in, that I could be changed by, that could change my life? $1,000 isn't gonna get me through college, but it's a small step. And if I can just show up over and over again, how much will that add up? And what if I can find a way to combine that in travel? Those are just thoughts happening in my head, right? And so so this is right before graduation, maybe in June. By July, I'm still like, all right, I need something to change my life still. Like, thanks for the $1,000. I need something to really change my life. So like, I need a big event. And so at 17, I found a program to go backpacking in Iceland. And I used all of my money from working at Brewster's Ice Cream all through high school. And I went to Iceland. And I spent a week in Reykjavik, solo, 17. I don't know if you guys have been to Europe, but I thought the drinking age was like 18. It's 21 in Iceland. I was not doing what I thought I would be doing in Europe. I was like, man, I went to like the strict European country, but that's okay. I experienced Reykjavik by myself, and then I joined a group of people who I had never met before to go backpacking on the Lagavegur Trail in Iceland. And you know what most people do before they go backpacking? Google how difficult that trail is. Most people do a little bit of research what it will be like. What sort of physical activity level should you be at before you attempt such a trek? You know what I didn't do? I did not Google that. I didn't. And so looking at it now, if I had, it says the difficulty level is moderate to difficult. It can be done with average level of fitness, but it's recommended you train before your trip. Yeah, I was walking my dog. I was pretending to go to the gym. Yeah, I was not training to go on this trek. And so by the time I got there, I was excited. Like, this is what I was looking for. My life-changing trip. It's happening right now. Look at me. Hey, look at all my people behind me. Hey, life-changing. And so I'm going on this experience, and it's a 4-day trek. And so as, as the trek goes on, I'm kind of realizing this is harder than I thought. This is not as easy. I thought I was the main character. I thought it would be magical and yeah, it was hard. It was cold. And I went in August. I ended up going in August. It was still cold. It was windy. It was freezing cold. I don't know how, but somehow there was a miscommunication. I didn't bring a sleeping bag. I did not bring a sleeping bag at all. I wonder if it's a picture of her. Oh, there we go. This is me at the end of the trek. But I ended up sandwiched into a sleeping bag with another girl who was on the trip who was just so nice, back to back, in a one-person sleeping bag, sleeping like this every night. And she's like 5'10", and I'm like, I don't know how it happened. So this is me at the end of the trek. I technically survived. And I live to tell the tale, but everyone else, they're like, oh my God, that was so fun, guys. I'm like, bleh. My legs are jelly, I'm exhausted, I'm sunburnt, I'm wind-bitten, wind-frosted. I haven't washed my hair in days, I'm crusty. I'm like, this was magical. And you know what's hilarious is that there were parts on this trip where I was truly miserable. Truly miserable. My socks got wet. We had to traverse through a really cold ice river, and they're like, that's okay, as long as you don't slip and get carried away by the current, you'll be fine. And I'm like, what? I'm 17. Everyone else on the trip is professors or grad students. They're 25, they're 35, I'm just so out of place. I also think I was maybe the only black person in all of Iceland at this time. If my hair was curly, I was like, oh my gosh, I was a walking spectacle. But so this happens, and then, like I said, there were points where I was truly miserable, to my core miserable on this trip. But I was still 1,000 times happier than I had ever been in Stafford, Virginia. 1,000 times happier, having cold, wet socks, doing something new, challenging myself, meeting new people, seeing what the world had to offer. And that was when I realized travel has to have a huge part in my life. It has to. This is what I want to be doing. I want to be miserable, if this is what it means to have an adventure. Absolutely one of a pinnacle moment in my life. And so that is what leads me to paid travel opportunities, because that travel experience changed my life, and I had that experience with that scholarship, and they culminated into me finding paid travel opportunities, and that's why they're so important to me. So we'll get into the topic of this talk now. What are paid travel opportunities? How do you win them? Who are they for? And what exactly can they do for you in your life? Again, not paid time off, paid travel opportunities. Stick with that. This is what, in my mind, paid travel opportunities are. This is a generalist. Feel free to take a picture. Hopefully you get these slides later too. These are all things that might show up in your life, or you can seek out in your life, or that people in your life are participating in or doing that can have elements of travel, and not only have elements of travel, paid elements of travel, which is my favorite type of travel. I think that these are gateways into travel. And whether you're taking your first trip doing some of these, or you're done a million trips and applying to these and participating in these, they allow so much access to travel that I don't think people are aware of. Because when I was in college, and I'll get into this later, but when I was in college and was working 2 part-time jobs virtually, paying for my university, paying for my rent, things like that, it wasn't accessible to fly to Thailand. It just wasn't. I wasn't gonna go to Thailand. It wasn't gonna happen for me. But through a study abroad scholarship, I was able to study abroad in Dubai, one of the most expensive cities in the world, for a year, completely paid for. It opens up a world of access and opportunity that I'm so excited to talk about. So this is a general list, and we'll review this list later with specific examples. But I want to talk about who they're for. And this is why I say they're for every single woman in this room right now and online. Hi. They're for the women who are high achievers. We love looking for cool things in life. We always have our eyes open. We're always open to things finding us. Like I said, the women who raise their hands, who want this in their life. They're for the adventurers, who want novelty in their life, who find joy in new things, in being curious. And they're also for the knowledge seekers, those people who want new experiences and maybe want to know what they don't know, right? Because as I'll hopefully show you in this presentation, you don't know what you don't know, and there's such incredible opportunities out and just in life, in every field, for every age, for every citizenship. Things exist, and you just don't know about them until they're right in front of you, and you're like, dang, I could have been doing all this. Y'all were doing this, and no one told me. Today, I'm telling you. So I've broken it down. That was who the personality types are who like these things, and I want to break it down by phase of life, because this is a question I always get. And like I said, when I tell this story to 18 to 30-year-olds, they're saying, conferences? I'm 20. What do I need a travel stipend for a conference for? Or if I am talking to my mom, who is around 50, she'll say, scholarships? That's for kids. There's no scholarships for me. And I promise you'll be shocked by the different types of opportunities, the different types of PTO there are for different age groups. So again, hopefully you get these slides and you can look through it yourself, but you might be just graduated and you might be starting your career, and these are different types of things you might look for based on your phase of life. I'm career age, hi, I'm in my office right now. This is my 9 to 5, and I love it. And so I'm looking for business grants. I'm looking for conferences, training programs, workshops, awards, conferences, speaking engagements. Hello, me in Portland right now, a city that I may not have had a reason to come to in this capacity, talking to you guys, meeting people I never would have met otherwise, having a great time. This is it. This is the paid travel opportunity. I'm living it, and so can you. It's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about what they actually look like. Here are some examples, and I want to start with, here are some examples. My story, because of course I know my story best, but I also have won different PTO in different phases of my life that can hopefully inspire you and make it more real for you. So, like I said, when I was in college, I won the Boren Scholarship. That's the name of it, the Boren Scholarship. It's for undergraduate students, and they just gave me $20,000 to study abroad in Dubai, UAE for 1 year. I lived in the marina. I went to school in the marina. I went to different countries in the region. I went to Oman. I went to Sri Lanka. By taking this paid travel opportunity, I was able to incorporate travel in my life in ways that I had not imagined before. And so I did that scholarship. Then I graduated, and I started my full-time job as a quality engineer for a US government contractor. Very stuffy, very black tie. My dad was very proud of me. He's like, yes, we did it right. Go do that. Little did he know I was doing this with my actual PTO. I was taking paid time off to do this, the AYFN Cultural Exchange Scholarship. There was no age limit on this scholarship. I applied for it. I think it was maybe a 500-word essay, 2 Zoom calls, and they were just sending me an email like, hey, you're in, come to South Korea. So I went to Seoul, South Korea for a week. This was January 2020. They paid for my flights, They paid for my accommodations, they paid for my hotel, they paid for my experiences, and they paid for me to take a week of Korean language classes. So to this day, I can read Korean. Put some Korean in front of me, I can read it. I can't tell you what it means. Didn't stay long enough for some vocabulary, but I can read that thing. And that's okay with me, that's a good start. And that was when I was working a full-time job. And so in this picture, is this it? Oops. I don't know how to do the laser thing. That's okay. In this picture, you can see that there are different people with me, and they're all from different countries because this was opened up to any nationality. There's me from the US, there's a kid from Russia, he's 18, there's a woman from Turkey, she's 30, she's a math teacher, there's a woman from Bali, she's 32, mother of 2, there's 4 kids from Bali, and then 1 kid from, I'm thinking Belarus, and he's 17. So the most random accumulation of people who are interested in exchanging cultures ever, but this is the perfect example of like, what limitation? Nationality? Nope. We're from 6 different countries just right here. Age? Nope. Me and that mom of 2 became best friends. I'm still friends with her on Instagram. I hope she sees this. She's fantastic. And so this was an amazing experience. Again, I had my 9-to-5 job, and it didn't stop me from having that novelty in my life, having that adventure in my life, and doing it in a way that was accessible to me without like blowing my whole savings account. And this last one, which I think is super fun, I don't know if you guys know Sawyer. It's a company, an outdoor adventure company, and Backpacker Magazine, an outdoor magazine. Okay, sure. They partnered to have a contest online. They ran it. Anyone in this room could have applied to it. If you know me now, you'll know about these opportunities, so the next one, I got you. But this was a trip to South America, to backpack in Patagonia for a week. This was like a sweepstakes. This is like a travel contest. It was 500 words to apply. And they're like, hey, you can do it. And this was right when the pandemic hit, so I've been in talks with them, and it'll hopefully happen this year, so you can follow up with me and see me hopefully backpack in South America because of this program. But am I gonna backpack in South America some other time anyway because of my job or who I am? Maybe. Am I gonna do it in this awesome capacity that Sawyer and Backpacker Magazine will do it? Probably not. And so applying to these things have all given me adventures that maybe one day in life I could have done myself, or one day in life, hopefully I'd be able to do it myself. But they did it in ways that give me access at that time in my life. And they did it in ways that make the experience, I think, most likely 10 times better than I would have been able to make it myself, solo traveling, trying to book a backpacking trip through Patagonia without inevitably drinking some bad water and like keeling over. So that's why I love paid travel opportunities. These are different phases of my life. Last year, I went to a conference in Austria. It was the Propel conference, a blogging conference, and they flew me out to Austria. Paid for it for a week. I got to learn about blogging, talk about blogging, be around other people, and that was a paid travel opportunity. And so these are examples from my life, but I wanted to make it real for you. And okay, so this is the dashboard that I put together, and this is what these PTOs look like on my dashboard. You'll find them. Anyone that I've just listed, you'll find it looks like this on the dashboard. But these are different examples of them. Here are some for students. Design an innovative energy product, 10,000 euro prize if you are doing sustainability work and you're a student. The Born Fellowship, it's the cousin of the scholarship that I won. It's for grad students. If you're a grad student, here. How about $30,000 to learn a language abroad for a year in whatever program you want? Learn a language, do a cultural exchange, whatever you like. Scholarships for international master's degree students. If you are looking to get your master's degree, and I'm talking to the Joe Francos out there who really worked and scrimped and scraped to save for their tuition and to be able to get their education, I'm hoping to touch every younger version of Joe Franco out there and show you that you can get your degree abroad, completely paid for with a scholarship, or get your undergraduates abroad, or do a semester of that abroad. There's so many different opportunities out there, and if the difference between, this is why I love them, the difference between me and someone else who has to really like sacrifice and work so hard is awareness. I want people to be aware about that. And I want them to have that same opportunity and access. That's why I love them. So let's keep going. Here are some for people who might be in their careers, working 9 to 5 already. How about a summit for young leaders across Europe? They'll fly you out. They'll help like host you at the conference. They want to hear what you have to say. How about the Ernst Mach grant? Full tuition, up to 1,000 euros to pursue research in Austria. How about the Fulbright National Geographic Storytelling Fellowship? Any creators, content creators, anyone who just does it for fun can apply to this. The deadline is in October of this year, so anyone can apply to that. It's fully funded storytelling fellowship to document stories on globally significant themes. If you want to talk about how the Black diaspora varies across the world, pitch that. They'll pay for it. If you want to talk about how, I don't know, economic disparity in varying South American countries, pitch that. They'll pay for it. If it's a good idea, they'll give you money to go travel and do what you want to do. And I think if enough people know about these things, we'll have more people who have access to travel. And we'll have more people who fall in love with travel and feel like it's accessible to them. These are open for anyone. All of these deadlines are in the next month or so you can take a picture. I want everyone in this room to at least apply to one of these, because some of these are minimal application requirements and just really cool prizes. So this first one, how about $1,000 to $5,000 to live your wildest dreams from KOA? 1,000, what would you do right now if you randomly had $3,000 deposited in your pocket to take a trip, to travel with your family, with your significant other? Instant access to a trip without the stress or the financial stress. Where am I going to get $3,000? That's a really cool opportunity. 30 Stays in 300 Days by Marriott. $15,000 and an all expenses paid travel the world for a year creating TikToks. Who knew? Who knew? Share your story. This is an essay writing contest. You don't even have to leave your house. Write an essay and get a year worth of national parks passes and adventure gear. That's pretty awesome. These are all, the due dates are in March and April. Anyone in this room can apply to them right now. This could be you. Here are some stories from past paid travel opportunity winners that I know about, of different ages, of different phases of life, going to different places. Manreet went to Egypt. Carly went to Turkey. Ope went to Italy. It's really cool, and I just love to see their feedback and their stories, and they get to say, I did this trip when I may not have been able to otherwise because I put myself out there, because I raised my hand, because I took the time and put my name in that hat. So this is a question I get all the time, so people get psyched. They're like, yes, free money, yes, money and travel, I'm in it. Can I live on these forever? Can I just sail off into the sunset and keep applying and this is my life now? Technically, I guess, yeah. Technically, yeah. You could continue going to school forever if you keep applying to programs, right? Technically, I'm not stopping you. I keep applying to them. They're kind of adding up to a lot of my life. And like I said, I've applied to them in different phases of my life, so you can definitely keep an eye out for them and keep applying for them, but are they gonna pay your rent? No. Are they gonna, are they gonna house you forever? No. What they can do though, these paid travel opportunities, usually they're one-off, usually they're a trip, right? They can be a gateway into travel, which is why I think they're the best gateway into travel. If you're having your first trip or one of your first trips and you're overwhelmed by the finances of it, if you're overwhelmed by the logistics of it, I wanna go abroad, but it's just too much to plan. It's too much, the flights and with COVID and it's just a lot of logistics. Or if you're overwhelmed by going solo. Yeah, I wanna go abroad, but what if no one's there? How do I meet people? How do I feel comfortable being by myself? These paid travel opportunities can empower you to have those experiences in a way that's kind of organized, or there's a supporting entity with you, that you can have them and realize how much you love travel and want to do it on yourself and build a lifestyle of travel. So that's what they have done for me. These paid travel opportunities that I had when I was younger have made me into the person I am today. They made me into a travel content creator. They made me into a full-time remote worker. I traveled all year last year to 15 different countries, working in Mexico, working in Dubai, Cyprus, Poland, France. Those paid travel opportunities were the spark in my life that got me to where I am today, and that's why I'm so excited for people to know about them. And if they were on the fence about travel, or if they were looking for ways to get into travel, this is it, right? So this is a little side talk, and it could be an entire talk on its own, but talking about funded travel opportunities you might not know of, these are ways that to make a lifestyle of travel out of your passion. So you can get a job in travel. Most people say you can work for an airline, be a flight attendant, super common, great job. But a lot of people don't know if you work for the airline in a different capacity. For example, my sister's fiance, I think works part-time with the bags at an airline, gets complimentary flights. Who knows? Just part-time, and he gets access to that travel. You can become a travel creative. Many people want to make you into a travel blogger. You can let them. I think it's pretty fun to be able to do stuff like this. You can get a job that travels. You can make your job that you have right now into a remote job, and if you want advice doing that, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss is a fantastic book. I'm sure people have you read that book, The 4-Hour Workweek? Was it good? Was it life-changing? He gives you tips to make your job into a remote job or find remote opportunities in your life. You can find a remote job or you can work for yourself. That's what I ended up doing. I worked as an engineer, and I could work remotely if I wanted to, but only in the US. I think that's pretty common. Like, your company will say you can work remotely, but you can't leave the US. And I knew I wanted to go see the world. So I started working for myself. I quit my job a week before the pandemic hit. No one told me. And of course, I had plans to go to Bali and be stereotypical and swing on the swing thing and then do the mirror lake thing. I was gonna do it all in pandemic, but it worked out. It really did. And if I can make that happen during a pandemic, at 24, living in my mom's house, you definitely have a shot too. So you can work for yourself. There are other volunteer and work exchanges. They're not necessarily paid, but you can trade your time for an experience. A lot of people I've been talking to at this conference have done WOOF, have done Workaway. There's an environmental conservation corps. If you're a student, they'll help you pay off your student debt. If you volunteer for 3 months, you can work around the US and just work in conservation. Why not? So these are other ways that you can make a lifestyle out of travel. And these are ways that I only found out about through these paid travel opportunities. I only found out because I had that curiosity of mind to start looking in my local communities, and that's what we'll talk about next. This is my life now. It's pretty fun. I can't deny it. It's pretty great. It's pretty great to do what I love and to talk to people about what I love and work in different countries and usually stay out of the cold. That's pretty nice for me. I don't mind it. And it's all thanks to this little girl. This little girl with a passion to raise her hand and harass people until they tell her if she can apply or not, and get viruses on her parents' computers that they have to have a professional from the store take off. It's all thanks to her. So here's how you can start today with paid travel opportunities. Take stock of your life. What are your key words? What do you do for work? What are your skills in life? If you had to write your job description, what skills would you list? These are things that you want to think about and have top of mind when you start looking for paid travel opportunities or any opportunities. And when it comes to actually finding them, I highly recommend to start looking in the communities that you're already in. I promise. If you start looking around, any of you won a grant recently? Any of you won an award recently? Did you get paid to go to that conference? If you start looking in your own communities, people who do what you do or go where you go, you'll be surprised how many people are already taking advantage of these opportunities around them. And if they can, you can. I'll let you in on a secret for college scholarships. This is a funny little story. So when I was in high school, they have award ceremonies for kids who won scholarships. And I went to one my junior year and saw all the scholarships that the seniors won to go to their colleges. And most of the people went in-state, so they went to a Virginia school too. So I was like, oh, if they can win that scholarship, I can too. So I took the pamphlet home with me and I applied to all the scholarships that I could from that list. I was like, thanks for the list, guys. Y'all are very convenient. And then I went to the other high schools in the area. And I sat in on their award ceremonies. And I took their pamphlets. And I applied to those scholarships too. And I graduated debt-free. And so I highly recommend looking in your community that you're already in. Ask your boss. Ask your guidance counselor. Ask on social media. I swear, I hope everyone from this talk goes onto their social media today and says, I'm looking for ways to travel, or I'm looking for a grant for people who work in physics. I'm looking for a conference for people who are artists or actors. If you put it out into the universe, and I promise the more you put it out into the universe and just talk about being interested in these things, they start popping up. It's like that psychological phenomenon, like where people say, aren't there a lot of red cars on the road today? And you're like, no. But the next day, you look around and you're like, there are a lot of red cars. And you start seeing more and more red cars. And there's not actually more red cars, but you're just seeing them. And I promise it's the same with opportunities in your life. Telling people, again, is a great way, and not only sharing opportunities with people who can apply to them. If you start doing that, I promise they start sharing with you. Hey, you sent me that scholarship, and actually I just found this one that works for you, so I wanted to send it your way. I get tons of emails every day with people who think of me for these things just because I am sharing them so much. And then my little secret hack, too, is Google Alerts. You can set up Google Alerts to say travel scholarships or conferences for paid conferences, business grants. It's a free tool online. Anyone can use it. I have like 50 of them set up, and I get emails every day about things I might be interested in. So again, why seek out paid travel opportunities? Why seek out opportunities anywhere in your life? Because they can bring novelty to you. They can bring adventure to you. They can save you from like financial stress or just stress in general. Graduating debt-free, I think, was the biggest thing I ever could have done, and the hugest impact it had on my life was the amount of stress I had less in my life. The amount of I didn't have that cloud hanging over my head. And I see that a lot, especially this generation that's coming out of college. It's stressful. It's stressful to be in debt. So applying for grants and scholarships for college, highly recommend. But applying for paid travel opportunities and getting that fun and novelty in your life without going into debt over it, I also highly recommend. I want more of us to become global citizens. Hopefully the next generation can grow up with an even wider mindset, more possibilities, more interests in knowing people who are different from us. And like I said, having fun. I think it's a priority. I want more people to travel. I want more people to have the joy that we have and love for travel and be able to have access for it no matter what they do, where they come from, what their family situation is. I want more people to do what we do and do what we love to do. And so, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Gabby? Come on up. I tried running around in the last room, and it was a terrible idea. So I'm just going to have you come over here.
Hi, Gabby. My name is Alexis.
Hi.
I actually love what you're doing, and I have done some of it myself. A lot of these things have deadlines, and then also they have a time period to get back to you. Have you ever missed one when they have gotten back to you, or how do you ever follow up with some of them?
100%. 100%. I'm missing things all the time. I put it on my calendar, and I wake up the next morning I was supposed to do something by 5 p.m. yesterday. So I'm definitely the queen of missing things or not finishing my application in time. I'm also the queen of following up. So if an opportunity, a scholarship, or whatever it is, doesn't get enough applicants, a lot of the times they'll extend the deadline, or I'm not afraid to email them. And I mean, they're real people like you and me at the end of that email, so I will email them and say, hi, I'm in a different time zone, and whatever reason, can I still send in my application? And I'll just attach it in that first email. And honestly, 99% of the time, they're like, okay, sure. What do we care? We're not the cops. Sure. They want people to apply. They want people who are qualified and interested in their opportunity to reach out to them. So, of course. And if they do say no, 100% of the time, they're going to say, hey, we're doing this next spring. We have you top of mind. Hey, we're doing this next year. Definitely keep us in mind. Apply next year anyway. Usually you can save your application and use a lot of elements in that in the next time around. So there's definitely no such thing as failure or missing an opportunity. It's only getting ready for the next one. Yeah.
Hello. I'm Haley, and I've been following you for years. Love it. So one of the things that you kind of passed over was, that there's an application that's only 500 words. It's an application that's just, you can do this or you can do that. How did you start to feel comfortable with 500 words and get comfortable with the application process and making sure that you can get to that point?
Yeah. You know, that's a really great question, and I definitely think I have a bias being a storyteller and talking all day and writing all day. And I wish I'll flip back to me as a child, like that big head is full of opinions and ideas. And so I never had a problem writing that 500 words. It's about 2 full Instagram captions, which I be talking. But to get to that point, I do recommend doing what I'm doing now. If you read a prompt and it's like, tell me about your life, talk, and I use Google Docs. They have a microphone feature. I'll answer out loud, I'll close my eyes or I'll just answer out loud and talk that response. And if you talk to a friend and add in those details and add in that excitement, it turns into 500 words pretty quick. It does. And if it doesn't, add in a quote, add in a thought that you've had, add in a reason, like just expand upon your idea. You can get to that point. Yeah. Hey, girl.
In your experience, what is the average duration of a lot of these? Are there week-long to 4-week? I'm just curious how, like, if you do work but want to do it for a week or so, 2 weeks, how can you fit that in?
That is a really great question. So I'll use my own examples. So the Bourne Scholarship was 6 months to a year. If you're a student, you have that flexibility, you can be multitasking like that. They're up to a year, really. The next one was 1 week. Like I said, I was working a full-time job. It took 5 days of PTO. Technically, but I actually aligned it with a holiday. So I aligned it with the New Year's Eve, and I went during that week. So it was only 3 days of PTO. So that was 1 week, and the Sawyer thing is 1 week. So I would say on average, depending on the type of opportunity, contests, cultural exchanges, conferences, can be weekends. It depends on the type, but it could be anywhere from, I'd say on average 1 week, and then the really fancy, big, elaborate opportunities can be months or up to a year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bernadette. Hi, love.
Hey, girl.
Question: do you recommend getting an accountant in your back pocket? Personal finance, because the awards, I've won trips to many places, and then you get dinged for that as income. So, what do you recommend?
That's 100% true, and I definitely recommend having a financial advisor or CPA or tax person in your back pocket anyway. If you have your own business or if you're doing anything outside of your 9-to-5 job. Things get weird in the U.S. So yes, don't listen to me, listen to a tax accountant and find one in your area. But I think it depends on the award amount. If you're winning like $100,000, if you're winning the lottery, definitely have your tax accountant with you in there. But if you're winning $300, if you're getting a free backpack gear, definitely note that. But usually it's not something to like keep you up at night, things like that. But definitely tax accountant.
I'm a little different from everybody. I want to know, you talked about fear.
Yeah.
Your very first time doing this, how did you handle fear, not knowing? Because a lot of people say, it's easy, just go. There's some people can just get up and go. Mm-hmm. I've never just got up and go because of the fear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just a bus layover overnight in a motel, it was a horrible experience for me, you know what I'm saying? And so that kind of blocks me from ever going somewhere. And this opportunity, I really want to take advantage of it, the paid travel, just the short ones. But I just know I want to get over that fear of being alone in a place where I don't know anybody or anything.
100%. And I'll tell you, when I got my scholarship to study abroad in Dubai for a year, I was in my house with my roommate, and I looked at my phone, and it said congratulations, and I looked at her, and I bust down crying. I started sobbing. I was excited, but also like, damn, I applied, but that means I have to do it. Damn, it means overcoming that fear. It means getting on that plane by myself across the world to the Middle East. In 2016, it was like buzzword to be scared, like doing that. It meant a lot of things, and I was like, yeah, I'm excited, but like, damn, that means some personal growth. So 100%, I'd say, but the good thing about these paid travel opportunities is usually there's an organization associated with them who's funding them, who's hosting them. And so when I got that call, I called a representative from the Bourne Scholarship and was like, I'm freaking out, a year away, like, I don't know. And they helped coach me through it because they host these opportunities. They know what people are feeling, and they have had people do this before. The other thing that we've been talking about this entire weekend about fear is like, you don't know until you go. You never really know how strong you are until you're in that situation and you do it, and like I showed you, it may not be fun all the time. It might be miserable sometimes, but you do it anyway, and you come out on the other side, and you're like, yeah, I lived through that, and I had a good time, and maybe that second time around will be even more enjoyable once you learn the ins and outs.
Hi, I'm Ankita.
Hi.
So these opportunities that you were talking about, I think an important aspect in that is to be able to connect with people. There's public speaking involved, there's creative writing involved.
Yeah.
So for someone for whom English is not their first language, I think there's some sort of a barrier in, trying to connect, just because of, cultural differences or the way the language is spoken. Do you have any tips on how you can bridge that so, you're more seen, if, to put in those words?
In those applications themselves, when
Yeah.
when you're putting your story, that's a really great question. I think to someone who's not knowing you and reading your application or reading your story about yourself, if you are comfortable being vulnerable and saying that and saying, I'm putting myself out there, I'm really interested in this, I think I'm the perfect fit for XYZ reasons, I'm really excited about it. If there are any errors or mistakes or you don't understand what I'm trying to say, it's because I'm really putting myself out there, and because I'm facing these challenges. There, aside from language or culture, there's so many other challenges that people might face. Nerves, scared, never traveling before. People think everyone has their own form of weakness. And so I think if you can be upfront about that and just say hey, I have these things going on, I'm applying anyway, I think I'm a great fit and you'd be lucky to have me. That is that confidence and that purpose, knowing that you feel like you'd belong there and that they feel that too. So honestly, being upfront and doing it anyway. The other person on the other side is empathetic, hopefully, this room of people. I'm talking to you and I'm super nervous, but I know everyone here is super supportive, so doing it anyway. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the right opportunity, it won't matter.
Thank you, Gabby. Big round of applause for Gabby. Thank you so much.